All right, what's going on, everyone? And welcome to a sort of just an update video on what's been going on with the whole Andrew WK lore and stuff like that. We got some interesting things that have come out that I think it's worth a mention. So this is going to be sort of just an update to the last two videos that we've done on the Andrew WK lore. You guys can check them out below. Andrew WK was signed to Napalm Records, and he and them both came out with a release date for a new song that he was going to be releasing on the 15th of January called My Tower. The 15th came. It never ended up coming out. Seemed like it was projected to come out. Didn't end up happening. So if we go into what Andrew has been posting on his Instagram story, we see a picture like this. And this one was coming up pretty often up to this release date. And if you look into this, you'll actually find out that this is a picture of the 1939 World's Fair. And we actually have some reference about this, like and this World's Fair, this specific event, in some of Andrew's interviews that he's done. This is an interview that Andrew did when he got an NHL jersey from the Penguins, where they let him pick out what kind of jersey that he wanted. He got his name and got the number 39. And in this interview, the one piece that I really want to take away from it is this conversation point where the interviewer asks, what's the significance of the number 39? And his response is, that's the year my dad was born. It's a number that popped up a lot in my life. I've always been into 1939 and the New York World's Fair. And I lived on 39th Street and on the 39th floor. Once you pick a number that means something to you, then you notice it everywhere. Look into the goings-on of that World's Fair. One thing interesting comes up that actually ties back into Andrew. Here is the 1939 New York World's Fair. One part to note is that this description right here, it was the first exposition to be based on the future with an opening slogan of Dawn of a New Day. Now, that slogan right there is interesting because it actually is mentioned in that leaked notebook. So this is the notebook of itself. This is him just talking about the 9 albums that he has set up, that he wants to release, and the descriptions of all of them. If you specifically look at album 6, The Party Gods, it talks directly right here. Dawn of a New Day, feeling total personal bankruptcy, total business crisis, the feeling of upheaval and euphoric fear. Right off the bat, in quotations, the idea is Dawn of a New Day, which is exactly what that 1939 New York World's Fair is talking about there. After the whole My Tower kind of situation, Andrew announced a new single that'll be coming out, Babalon, as well as on the flip side, a song called The Party Gods is going to be coming out. This is a direct reflection of what we've seen in that 1998 leaked notebook. I don't think that really anyone can argue that that notebook isn't Andrew WK at this point. There's way too many similarities. If you look at it, I mean, right there, front and center, the album, at least from the journal's point of view, is titled The Party Gods. Or at least that's the working title that this suggests. You have a lot of similarities between what we've seen after this journal has been leaked and what this journal is even talking about. So much so to the point where, like I said, I don't think that anyone can argue that these two things are separate from one another and actually not from Andrew himself. You also have the overall style of the album itself, at least from what we can see right now, and from some of the imagery that we'll get into in a little bit about what this, the promotional material, and as well as just the vibe of this album. It's all very dark, minor, creepy. If you look into the eras that are discussed within this new release that we're going to be seeing, you actually see a lot of clear overlaps between this style that he's putting out as well as the album itself. Starting with Era E, which is, we're right now currently in a transitional period between Era E and Era F. So I'm going to start with Era E and just kind of go over some stuff here. If you look on the sides, you can actually see, where this information will be noticed. If you look at this one right here, you see in photos, brutalized face, skin and nails. We've seen a lot of this in this era, 2013, 2017, and we discussed a lot of that. Just red face, just really beaten up, crying, eyes absolutely bloodshot. In that 6-hour, 40-something minute video. Be sure to check it out, and thank you to everyone who did watch it, and anyone who didn't have time for that. Listen, I don't blame you. All right, horrifying underlying problems, right? And you see that directly in some of his posts on Instagram. So you have some here, for instance, this just like tortured soul kind of look in these pictures here, in these kind of styles. So it's not so much about a good time, it's more so like some sort of pain and anguish. So another thing that is discussed in this era is the rehire of the first multiples in era B. I couldn't confirm that the multiples that we're going to get into in a little bit, the stand-ins, the clones, the fake Andrew-WKs, I couldn't confirm if those were used previously, but I will say that it does fit a similar vibe of more focus on the multiples kind of angle. You've seen that a lot recently. This is a photo from September of 2020, which you have the whole multiples kind of theory. Which also kind of coincides with this time coil theory that we're going to get into in Era F. And this is that multiple that I was kind of talking about. This is one of the posts that you saw on Andrew WK's Instagram story. This is obviously not Andrew WK, but I wasn't able to confirm if this was a previously used actor. And then as well, you have what we're seeing a lot of right now, which is this cosmic horror themes that increase. That's a lot of the Instagram posts, his story posts that we've been seeing. After My Tower did not come out, you had this image as Andrew WK's Twitter image go from having no eyes and nothing there to opened up exactly on the day that Andrew WK's My Tower is supposed to come out. It didn't come out. The eyes closed again, and then when they reopened, ever since then, we've been seeing posts directly correlating with what's being discussed for this upcoming album. And you have the album coming out now. It is the 10th of February, so you have it coming out in 7 more days, so a week from today. So I predict that it's going to continue that way. I think that the eyes opening is sort of like the activation. The switch is turned on now instead of the eyes being closed. It's like how an eyelid works. Switches on, the eyes open up. I think that's kind of what that metaphor was. Some of the other kind of interesting things that work really well, again with this is era E still, is this is through media. Vanished see-through eyes. And another one of the posts that Andrew had put up on the lead up to Babalon's release was this. Right away from this image, it's kind of hard to see what's going on here. For the most part, it just looks like a regular face. But there was another post that came up right after it, which was this picture. And for anyone who still can't see it, I edited it a little bit just to give it some more brightness and such. And we have this, which is that same kind of topic that he was talking about, see-through eyes. They're not there. They're just absent. I think that this correlates directly with that point in the notebook. We're gonna call back to that picture in a little bit because I actually think that has some more deeper meanings that tie in with a bunch of other things too. But some more of the media that we're seeing is pharma testing pattern implode, which we directly saw in one of the other pictures that is tied with the Babalon release. I was not able to understand the meaning of purple in this picture. Clearly has a large meaning and message, as does I'm sure the salt, but you have this almost like a crystal ball and the pills on this little platform with the same purple color. I mean, it could be as simple as the yin and the yang, the red and the blue come together here. I'm not too sure, but one of the interesting things you see here is this dosage dropper, which from the resolution given so far, it's not really that easy to determine what is said here, but I actually am pretty confident that I know what this is. We'll talk about that a little bit later. There is some medication involved in some of these pictures, and one of the other pictures that coincides with this are these two pictures here. So you have this really great mashup of a lot of different things, and here's the colorized version of it. You have the Andrew WK's mouth in the background, teeth dripping some sort of some sort of liquid or goo, and as well as you have, you know, the same kind of creepy eyes that we've been seeing in the skull faces, as well as other pictures. And more importantly, you have, once again, a pill bottle right here, as well as a standing pill bottle. You can see the white cap right underneath where it says Andrew WK. You can see the white top right there. That's the cap, and it's the exact same shape. But you have one laying down over here too. I'm not the only person who found this out. I want to say that as well for this one, because as I was kind of collecting all the information for this, and I found this out, I just saw today some of the other groups of people found this information out. So it's not just me coming out with this information. I just want to say that, you know, I'm not trying to make it seem like this is, you know, I'm the only one who figured this out. But what I had did, and I don't know what anyone else was able to do, I first saw the name down here, HY. I tried to figure out what this was. Then you have underneath it the warning, or, you know, the dosage instructions. It says take, and then I can't figure out the rest. And then I think the bottom word, of the word on the left, the most farthest left side, is with. I don't know, but I was able to find out what this is through looking up round orange tablet, and then if you see this underneath it, it says side 1 and side 2, side 1H, side 240. That is actually describing the pill to you, meaning it's a circular orange tablet that says on one side it just says big H, and on the other side it has the number 40. So if you go and look around for this information and type it in, I was able to find this on drugs.com. It says right here, hydrolazine hydrochloride, which is all for a vascular disorders. You know, it's a high blood pressure kind of medication. You know, basically just things to do with your heart and your blood. I'm not familiar with you know, these types of drugs and such, but this does have to do with you know, blood pressure medication, stress, if you will, that kind of stuff. That coinciding with the imagery that we're seeing of, you know, Andrew WK stressed out and, you know, really in a dark spot, kind of makes sense. You know, you're seeing a drug dependency, or at least more medication involved in this. And one of the more recently, actually this just came out today, is pictures that he came out with that coincides with this medication idea, is this one over here. You have him using, I believe it's the same dropper and whatnot. Now, if you zoom in closely, you can kind of see it looks to be that this ends in chrome, CHROME. I've done a lot of work in trying to figure out what this was. I took this picture, for instance, here, and boosted up the sharpness and tried to trace the letters and stuff like that. This is kind of the best that I got, but I believe that this first letter is an A, and taking that information with, as well as the fact that it's a dosage dropper, so that's the way that this medication or drug is administered, and then as well as using this picture here and figuring out that the suffix of this drug is chrome, as well as seeing this little red dot on the top of the label. Here's the same picture, a little bit more added sharpness, if it'll help you. But using that information, I searched around and tried to find what I could find. And the suffix for drugs, chrome, is not as common as a lot of other suffixes. And looking into this and looking for drugs that specifically are administered through dosage droppers, or at least have the option of using them as dosage droppers, yielded no other results other than this right here, Adrenochrome. This almost looks to a T what we were discussing. You have that A right in the beginning, you have it ends in chrome, you have the red little spot on the top of the dosage dropper. I have some other pictures of it as well. Here it is again in a dosage dropper. This dosage dropper is sealed at the top. And again, with this low resolution, you can even kind of see, you know, it looks very, very similar. Again, you have that red dot at the top. Looks like the exact same type of label. So what is adrenochrome? I mean, I think that's something that we kind of need to start with, in being able to understand what information we're supposed to be taking from it. Adrenochrome is a chemical compound which is produced by the oxidation of adrenaline. It's adrenaline. It's essentially high energy, you know, something that really boosts you up, gets you wired, gets you, you know, with that high amount of energy that we would see with someone who's never going to bed, never going to stop the party, always partying, constant high energy, always down for fun and stuff like that. And this kind of coincides with that the previous eras that we've seen with that partying kind of lifestyle. So here are the effects on the brain. Several small-scale studies conducted in the 1950s and 1960s reported that adrenochrome triggered psychotic reactions such as thought disorder and derealization. For anyone who was wondering, derealization is an alternation in the perception or experience of the external world, causing sufferers to perceive it as unreal, distant, distorted, or falsified. Other symptoms include feeling as though one's environment is lacking in spontaneity, emotional coloring, and depth. I think that coincides with all the crazy kind of colors that we're seeing with the medication that he's been posting. You're seeing a lot of similarities between that type of reaction from this drug with what we're seeing right now with Andrew, kind of like the schizophrenia, the multiple personalities kind of disorder and things like that. The mental, him and Steve Mike, the mental anguish that he's experiencing in some of the images that we just showed earlier. Some of the researchers talked about this possibly being used as a role in schizophrenia and other mental illnesses. In what they call the adrenochrome hypothesis, they speculated that megadoses of vitamin C and niacin could cure schizophrenia by reducing brain adrenochrome. So this idea is not typically believed anymore that it can be used to treat schizophrenia and such, but nonetheless, it does kind of make sense with what we're seeing currently. You have this kind of old-timey idea. It's very possible that in the lore that Andrew's putting out, he's using adrenochrome to kind of deal with issues between him and Steve Mike, essentially being one and the same and such. So it's almost like a self-treatment, it could be. As we're seeing, he's giving the dosage to himself. That could be a direct reference to him self-medicating. You may have actually heard about adrenochrome in pop culture and media and things like that. I'm going to kind of list off some of them and how they were showcased. This book, The Doors of Perception, the author mentioned discovery and the alleged effects of adrenochrome, which he likened to the symptoms of mescaline intoxication. As well, mentioned in Clockwork Orange, where the protagonist and his friends are drinking drug-laced milk. You have Hunter S. Thompson mentioning adrenochrome in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where it's probably the origin of current myths surrounding the compound, because the character states that there's only one source for the stuff: the adrenaline glands from a living human body. It's no good if you get it out of a corpse. You also have, which is kind of funny, adrenochrome is a component of several false conspiracy theories such as QAnon and the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, where we actually do talk about Pizzagate in Snail School that we've done previously, where we kind of fact-checked a lot of what Alex Jones was talking about. So be sure to check that out. That's going to be in the description below. The idea of adrenochrome really fits the narrative that we're seeing right now. We're seeing this mental anguish and this kind of split personality of Andrew and of Steve Mike. A lot of times we've seen him talk directly about him being Steve Mike directly, and also working together and closely and things like that in the past. And it's really seeming to be that that's the case. He's trying to self-medicate to deal with these problems, and then as well as it also coincides with the effects of adrenochrome, which are what we've seen with Andrew and his high energy, always down to party, always very spontaneous and high energy, which coincides directly with the effects of it. So it could be the idea of prolonged exposure to the drug that eventually is taking a toll on his mental faculties. Now, I talked about how we would get back to this picture right here, and I think that this picture is a direct reference to adrenochrome, as well as the topic that we talked about previously about no eyes that have disappeared, and so on and so forth. And if you look at this picture, it is very, very similar to some imagery that I found while searching and doing some research on adrenochrome. While doing research for this, I came across this website called iDoser Software, and while looking into it, the picture correlated with adrenochrome is almost to a T what we're seeing, excluding the fact that the mouth in here is covered up as well, to the previous picture. So I really can't say if this is just a very, very strange coincidence or not. This kind of imagery isn't always associated with adrenochrome, but nonetheless, I just thought that really coincided to a point where it's borderline coincidence or intentional. This also talks directly about what we've read before about adrenochrome. It's an oxidation product of adrenaline. It's achieved mythical status as a deliberately ingested psychoactive boosted by Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. So this is all one aspect of what we're seeing coming up to the lead up to this release for Babalon. Some of the more direct information that we really need to start talking about is the name Babalon itself. It's spelled differently than the traditional name for Babylon, the city. It's spelled with an A instead of a Y. That spelling has a direct correlation with some of the information that we've seen previously, like for instance, I'm a Vagabond, where you saw him holding Aleister Crowley's book, and Thelemic. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but the thelemic imagery that we've seen in a lot of his performance and imagery. So if you start looking up what Babalon means and the specific spelling that we're seeing right here, you start to see some information about the Scarlet Woman, the Great Mother, or the Mother of Abominations, which is a goddess found in the occult system of Thelema, which right here, it's part of the writing of the Book of the Law by the occultist Aleister Crowley. Front and center, you have clear ties, again, with what we've seen previously with the Aleister Crowley kind of imagery and ideas. If we continue down with this idea of, Babalon being the Great Mother or the Mother of Abominations, I think this has a real strong tie with Mother of Mankind that we've seen before. Where if you look into this, Babalon is mentioned in the Gnostic Creed, which is another occultist kind of belief system, I guess you would say. And I believe in one earth, the mother of us all, and in one womb wherein all men are begotten, and wherein they shall rest. Mystery of mystery, her name Babalon. In this quote, you have her described as the mother of us all, the mother of mankind. I think that right there is a direct correlation with that title. Babalon, as the Great Mother, represents matter, a word which is derived from the Latin word for mother. She is the physical mother of each of us, the one who provided us with the material flesh to clothe our naked spirits. She is the archetypal mother, the great Yoni, the womb of all that lives through the flowing of blood. She is the great sea, the great divine blood itself, which cloaks the world and which courses through our veins. And she is Mother Earth, the womb of life, all as we know it. So again, that really strongly suggests that might be the case with Mother of Mankind. The concept contained within the aspect of Babalon is that of the mystical ideal, the quest to become one with all through the annihilation of earthly ego. So you're seeing this a lot where they're in the NPR Tiny Desk concert that Andrew WK did, which I'm not going to show again. I've showed it in the previous videos. He talks about wanting to be uncomfortable, wanting to be in an uncomfortable state, and really just to sit in that and to really just experience it as a point. So feeling horrible, feeling like crap, wanting to make yourself feel uncomfortable, is a way to destroy one's ego. You know what I'm saying? Like make sure that you're never feeling like you are better than anyone else, that you're hot shit and all that stuff. I think directly coincides with this information. And the last piece about Babalon that I want to talk about is the Enochian magic, which in this kind of system means, the word Babalon means wicked. And you have that whole idea that is talked about in the Andrew WK leaked journal, where, having a wicked side. And it's even been discussed by himself directly, in interviews and in discussions that he's had about, when he was a young boy, his parents took him to a psychiatrist who just diagnosed him with having a wicked side. There's a lot of ties between what we have seen and this release here, and it's really interesting how with this Babalon information, you have it kind of coinciding with again these thelemic views and the Aleister Crowley imagery that we've seen and ideas that we've seen, and as well as you have something that was taken for granted, which is just Andrew just being high energy, always down to party, always trying to be his best self and is having a good time. Really, now it's the idea seems to be this flipping back on itself, that it was artificial, it was an artificially created idea or an artificially created feeling that was through drugs and through drug abuse and things like that, just to kind of push this forward, which kind of coincides with what he's been bringing up, throughout the years, which is that, he was hired for this position, that Andrew WK was manufactured by a hidden group cabal, if you will, and you're seeing that kind of play out with this idea of everything being fabricated, with the energy and the vibe that he's been giving is just been fabricated alongside of he himself and him being just an actor for the role of Andrew WK. So if we go back to the Era E bullet points, we see right here pull aparts and offloading, separation and severe self-image. So I think this has a direct correlation with some imagery that we've seen very recently. You have this kind of dueling Andrew WK, over here. Clearly it's two of them. You can see the tattoos that are being presented here. It's very kind of multiple Andrews theory, as well as just split into many different pieces, So I think this kind of represents that bullet point in and of itself. Then you have another bullet point, which is a media bullet point, which is weekly strong blood schedule peaks. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with the drugs that we've seen and discussed previously, the blood pressure medication. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I'm not really going to kind of go down that because I don't feel too confident one way or the other. But then we get into Era F, which I think continues just some of the ideas that we've seen in Era E. Complete emotional, personal, mental, social, and familial and musical failure, both implicit and pseudo. I have no idea then what this new album is going to sound like, besides it being dark and minor and things like that. Another bullet point here: in false behind-the-scenes leaks, many new layers of demonic destabilization are self-perpetuating and building. I think that this directly coincides with some more of the imagery that we've seen. These are some of the other posts that he's released on the lead up to Babalon. You have this no eyes, kind of coinciding with that whole that idea of vanished eyes and things like that, as well as another one of the more recent pictures. This very, directly demonic kind of look. Blackened mouth, these horribly disfigured teeth, and things like that. So you have that demonic kind of look to this all, but as well as this coincides with the breakdown of just his hygiene and lack of self keep up. One of the last points on this page: explosion of multiple time coils, I think coincides with the picture that I showed before of Andrew kneeling, as well as you're seeing other Andrews there as well. This point right here, which is deadness and hollowfulness, face and eyes at uneasy peace. I think that's seen right in this picture over here. I think that's exactly what this is describing. Just emptiness and just a blank kind of stare. And then another one, which we can see a direct reference to in this Babalon promotional material, is missing tattoos, come and go arms, band-aids. In the Babalon imagery, you can see right here, you have Andrew wearing all band-aids over all of his tattoos. None of them are visible. So I think that there's no doubt at this point that notebook hasn't directly come from Andrew. Look younger. We've seen that in all of his pictures. There's a flip-flop of him looking older, looking younger, his hair changing. He's constantly kind of changing in how he looks and his appearance and his age. About how people are, saying like, you still look like the same. How are you not aging? In the actions, hollow wooden, brittle, burning dust. Traumatized, something really is wrong, which you're seeing that directly with the imagery that we're seeing of just absolutely not happy, not Andrew's not excited about any of this. This is not a good time for him. In all the imagery that we're seeing, it's just him struggling and really being tortured, medicine drenched, unopened doors, etc. Now we have some of the other pictures that were put up. I don't necessarily have any idea as to these, but I want to just showcase them to you just for archival sakes. You have this picture, which I edited the lighting just so we can kind of really see what's going on. I have no idea what the fuck is with this mouth, but it straight up looks like prolapsed goatsy butthole. This is another as well. I tried to see if there was anything to it. I added sharpness and tried to really boost the clarity. I really couldn't make anything of it. This is the edited picture, as well as here is the non-edited. There's a lot of death and skull imagery. If this is to continue what we've seen from Andrew with the nosebleed idea, you're seeing full-on blood, complete just bloodied face, bloodied teeth, just disarray, again, complete lack of self-health. You're seeing just dental denial and things like that, and this mirroring effect could coincide with other ideas that we've seen with mirrors, multiples, as well as time coils, kind of all blending in one into each other. It could be part of it, or it could just be not. It could just be a really cool effect. Another picture that coincides with the something is really wrong here idea. More skull imagery. These 3D glasses also are going to be released with the Babalon release, so you're going to get those. I don't know if there's going to be anything to see that you need these 3D glasses for. I'm not too sure about any of that, but that's all that we have right now. I mean, this isn't over at any point yet. I kind of just wanted to put all my findings out so far into one place, just so that way everyone can be on the same page for when the release does come out, and that way, you know, we can kind of see where everything goes from there. This kind of video has an expiration date to it. A lot of this is going to be either known once the release comes out, or it's going to be irrelevant if some of it's wrong. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to showcase my findings with this. I think that right now we're seeing enough information come out that it warranted kind of an update video on this, and I also just love doing these videos about Andrew WK. So thanks for sticking with it, guys. Be sure to join the Discord where we talk about all this stuff. I actually discussed this with some of my guys. Anyway, guys, thanks for sticking through it, and I really appreciate it.